All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the IT3 Mastermind here. My name is Shaq Turner, and our show today is for you guys to find out how we actually got here. Today we have my brother Ike Harvey, my brother Jevin Henderson, my brother Jade Henderson, and my brother John Smith. Unfortunately, we have PT Smith cannot be here today, celebrating a momentous occasion that I actually don't know what it is. What is it, Ike?
I don't know what he's celebrating either, but
there is no better thing to do as a black man than to celebrate. And so we're not mad at PT, celebrating in the summer. The show is gonna go on. Mm-hmm. But next time he'll be here. Next time PT will be here. All right. So our question for today. How did the IT3 Mastermind get started? Does anybody want to break in on answering that question?
Listen, I'm going to just go first because I always felt like the oddball. I think it kind of started out at TSTL. I think is when that group kind of started getting formed. And I'm not going to lie, I was a little jelly because y'all had the hats with the IT3 on. I was like, how I get a hat? Why didn't I get a hat? And then I always felt like I was the younger brother. So I was like, I know that's not my group. So I think it started there, but I just wanted to put that disclaimer out there that I always felt like the oddball out until now.
Jevin, I empathize with you on that oddball feeling because neither did I. I didn't have a hat either. I think who had the hats?
I had a hat.
Right now, I'm gonna y'all see this photo? Y'all see this photo? Those are the photos of you see that?
Look, you better be doing your work, Jaden.
I'm on there.
Look at them. Look at them. They got the photo like that. Those are the hats that we're talking about. Okay.
I got a picture just like
not
right there too.
It was Jade, it was PT, it was John. They had the hats, but me and Jevin did not have a hat.
They didn't have no hats.
But it's okay. We here now.
I'll make my own hat.
So tell us how y'all got them hats. What was that about?
What I remember was we were at TSDO and there was it's a Bible Christian camp and stuff like that, and then one of the things that came up for the women at the camp was being a P31. It was Proverbs 31 woman. They were, they would walk around the camp saying P31, P31, blah, 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 and all that stuff. And we, as young men, appreciated their branding and their, the emphasis they were able to make with the whole P31 thing. There's a whole chapter in the Bible dedicated to what type, woman they're supposed to be and stuff. And we were like really big about what type of men are we supposed to be. And we were like, biblically, and all that stuff. And we were like, so what's the male equivalent of P31? And if I remember correctly, was that around the time we were having those meetings with Scott Sangster?
And it was Scott, and it was he went to see you. Justin Adams.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we were talking about, I guess we kind of figured out a scripture that worked. It was 1 Timothy chapter 3. And right here is where I should say, like from memory, the verse that, encapsulates everything. And
I just pulled it up. Do you mind if I read it?
Go ahead.
This is going to be interesting because, I generally know what it says, but, I don't know exactly what it says. So let's read it. From the ESV. The saying is trustworthy. If anyone aspires to the office of overseer, he desires a noble task. Therefore, an overseer must be above reproach, the husband of one wife, sober-minded, self-controlled, respectable, hospitable, able to teach, not a drunkard, not violent, but gentle.
Read that last sentence again.
Not quarrelsome, not a lover of money. He must manage his own household well, with all dignity, keeping his children submissive. For if someone does not know how to manage his own household, how will he care for God's church? He must not be a recent convert, or he may become puffed up with conceit and fall into condemnation of the devil. Moreover, he must be well thought of by outsiders, so that he may not fall into disgrace, into a snare of the devil. That is the qualifications of an overseer according to 1 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 9.
It's funny. One thing that's amazing thinking about that is that I don't remember how old we were at the time, but we read that apparently, and then we're like that's the one, and we're like we are gonna embody that, and we took it, put our own spin on it and stuff like that, and we made these hats that said IT3 on the front. I wish I still had mine.
Right. You know what I'm saying? I wish I had mine too. We all got them embroidered on either on the front or on the side. And then Jay got those and then made a picture with the IT3 going down half the face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was I think that was like 09 or 010.
Yeah, it had to be.
Y'all were head coaches at the time, right?
Yeah.
Were all of y'all head coaches?
I wasn't the head coach. I was I think I was like assistant director at that point.
Yeah.
You was assistant director. Okay. So you was a big.
He had
top dog.
I could be walking around with the clipboard at that time. I remember that.
I was stressed.
Yeah, I remember that.
All right.
But yeah.
But John and Jade, y'all were head coaches.
Yeah.
I was head coach, and then a little bit of activities director, because I remember that year we were in school, and instead of because we didn't have the same facilities that we had up in Westminster, that we scheduled going to I think we went to the botanical gardens, a few other things, because we had access to a bus. So yeah, it was that year that we were just
we were just trying to figure out how to be creative.
Yeah.
We just pulling stuff out the hat, where can we go for free?
Yeah.
All right. So this brings up a good segue. We are talking about the sky's the limit. Now, can you explain a little bit about what that is for the listener?
The sky's limit was Christian sports camp. So in Denver, around that time we had pockets of hoods that we would take kids from and take them out the inner city and take them to the suburbs to this campground we had. And so pretty much, honestly, we had kids leading kids. And we had really two main leaders. Scott, who was the old head, and then we had DeJuan, who was a little closer to our age, but way, way more mature. And so, then it was kids leading kids. And so we got out the hood. We had groups where we had a head coach who was over their group. So we had from G1 to G5, and they were broken down in ages. And then from B1 to B5, and they were broken up from ages. B1 being the youngest, B5 being the oldest. And so you had your head coach, you had your junior counselors. Was there another one in between that?
Counselors.
And your counselors. So it was head coach, counselors, and junior counselors. And so you kind of went through that process. You started out as being a JC. So you did that at about 13 or 14. And then after you did that for maybe a year or two, and if you showed you worked hard, you moved on to being a counselor. And then again, you did that for a year or two. And if you did that well, you moved on to being a head coach and being a leader of a group.
Got it. So what I'm hearing basically is that IT3 Mastermind started at the Sky's to Limit as an effort in branding the young men in godly manliness. Okay, is that correct?
Yeah, I think we did that because I know Dewan was ahead of the P31.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so she like pushed that to the young ladies, and we were like, "Hey, we need some too. We need some too." And as a collective, like we were saying earlier, we looked for something, and then we found that verse, and we was like, "Hey, this is something to strive to be." And so we gonna rep this. This is IT3.
That was dope.
And it wasn't like we got pushed by a head leader or anything, that we got pushed by Scott or anything. Like that was something we wanted to do on our own, and we found it on our own. It was like, hey, we gonna strive to do this.
And I would say that it was also just like it was for sure started by us, but it's probably born also out of this Scott Sankster, who was the director for all of us for when we worked there, this emphasis he put on servant leadership, and like just remember him saying that leadership starts at the feet of Jesus. And so a lot of what we even learned about what that means to embody IT3 came from seeing his leadership and seeing how he interacted with us, how he interacted with the campers, and a lot of times where he had to call us on the carpet because we weren't doing what we were supposed to be doing. We weren't upholding themselves to the standards that we did as staff there. So it was definitely something that through his leadership and through his guidance that we took those lessons learned and then turned it into this group. So.
But that's what's up. So I guess my next question is, TSTL was over in 2000, like 12, 13?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
2013. Okay, and the group that we have now started maybe in like 2016, 2017. What was it? I guess I can speak to this. In the interim, do y'all remember when we got back in touch and like back to connecting on a regular basis?
I don't know. I don't remember how we all did it, because I know me and PT became really tight, and then John and I, and then PT, because of Issachar and just like kicking it with each other, we were tight. Jade had to. It might be a story for another podcast. He stopped kicking it with us for a little bit. Shaq was off at Howard, doing his things, learning, making mistakes, growing into the man he was eventually going to be. And Jaden was just young and not around.
Yeah, I was
He's like,
my
where'd
best
everybody
life.
go?
It's funny because me and Jevin are the same age, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like so I know me, PT, and John, we were really in the same areas a lot, and we were hanging around a lot. Jay started to come into those areas too, with getting into Young Life and getting into Issachar. And then Shaq, you came back from college to go to DU, and so you became around, right? So you were around now, like for a minute, because you were off in college and across the country, like you just wasn't physically around. And so you came back and you were physically around again, and then you started dating one of the Hendersons, or not date. You started pursuing one of the Hendersons, and I think you and PT through that process got close.
I think you're exactly right, Ike. I think the timeline is pretty spot on. So the way that from my perspective, like I was off at college, I came back. It's interesting because Gia asked me to be a part of.